Hello, it's me. How you doing? So, last few chapters of My Hero Academia were quite crazy. I mean, actually, scrap it. The last arc was crazy, and I'm loving it. Like, after how shit Joint Training arc was, the current arc is just beautiful, beautiful, delicious. I love it. Great fucking food. So today I would like to talk about with you about something that relates to the current arc and villains of My Hero Academia, and probably the next video will be also about My Hero Academia. I just kind of want to release them back to back. So today's videos is about All for One, and to be exact, what are his plans for Tomura and why did he decide to take on Tomura. Now, uh, it's a little bit hard to talk about why he did what he did and what were his true motives, because ultimately we do not know a lot about All for One, which is a little bit crazy when you think about it, because All for One is as big as All Might, but we barely know anything about him, especially his personality. And that is why it's hard to really know what is going on inside his head. So let us start by pinpointing down personality traits that we know about him, and most of them kinda come from the flashback that Izuku had, where we saw All for One talk with his brother. So the very first thing which I would like to point out is that All for One is probably a sociopath, which means that he has little sympathy and or empathy towards other people. The reason why I say that is because it never felt like he cares about hurting other people. He never takes joy in hurting other people, but he doesn't also care about hurting them. We do know that at least one Nomu, or possibly several Nomus, were created using children, and All for One does not care. We know that Doctor is probably a horrible person with some big fucking disgusting fetish, and All for One did not care because he probably simply does not care about people's lives, and he just does not value them. With that being said, it doesn't mean that he's a complete monster and he completely does not care, because I do believe he genuinely loves his brother. He just loves his brother in a very ass backwards way, the same way Chisaki loved his boss. But I'm not gonna talk about Chisaki in this video. Speaking of Chisaki, I actually want to talk about Chisaki after season 4 is gonna end, so it's not gonna be soon, but oh well. Anyhow, back to All for One. Another personality trait which I think we can assign to him is that he is possibly delusional. And what do I mean by that is, well, when we see him for the first time, not for the first time, when we see him in the flashback, he looks like he's wearing a suit. He always looks like he's wearing a suit. And when he was talking to his brother, he said that now he can be the biggest evil of all evils, just like in the comics which he was reading. Which is an interesting point, because it makes me think that All for One might have been one of those people who worked in the office but hated the real regular life, and that's why when the quirks kicked in, he was like, yo, I can now be like one of those people from the comics with superpowers. And when he realized that he has such a powerful and amazing quirk, he was like, I just gotta be on the top of the game because of my quirk. I gotta be the best of the best. So I think he is delusional. Maybe now so he's less delusional, because I do believe that his personality changed after he was almost killed by All Might. I do believe he was taken down a few steps and he calmed down a little bit. He became less delusional. But another personality trait which I would like to assign to him is most likely a god complex. I mean, you have a quirk which gives you an ability to give and take quirks at your own will, and you also have organization, which pretty much sounds like a cult. Yeah, it does feel like you will develop a god complex in that situation. The reason why I bring up a cult is because back in the flashback, his brother said that, oh, you make people do all of those evil things, but All For One said that I don't. I simply help people, and then people come to me and want to help me. I don't tell them to do anything. And it does kind of sound cultish, doesn't it? Kind of reminds me of that one cult leader whose name I forgot, but he's quite famous. Maybe I'm gonna pop his name up right now on the screen. So yeah, based on those personality traits, we can deduct that he's a detached, cold person who is not incapable of loving someone, which does not really give us a lot to go off, but it does give us two major paths down which All For One could go down. The first path is a complex one, in my opinion. If we think about this path, the idea is that All For One genuinely wants to see Tomura succeed. He sympathizes with Tomura, he genuinely loves Tomura, and he wants to see Tomura succeed because he believes in Tomura and he believes in his goal, so to say. Now, doesn't mean that he loved Tomura from the beginning. Questionable. It could be either or. Maybe when he took in Tomura, he did not love him. He simply viewed him as asset. But maybe as he spent time with him, he kind of developed this fatherly love towards him. Or maybe he loved him from the very get-go. Now the question is, why would he love him from the very get-go? Well, there is another theory which been going around that maybe One For All quirk was actually being passed down a family line, and then Nana was the first one to pass it to All Might, who was not part of the family bloodline, and that's when All For One came and he wanted to take Tomura because he was angry at Nana giving her quirk to someone from not the same bloodline. Now, this theory could work or could not work, but the most important part of this theory is Tomura, because in my opinion, Tomura looks like All For One's younger brother. He has the same sickly appearance, his hair looks kind of the same, his face looks kind of the same, and I'm not going to be surprised if his hair looks the same. And Tomura was kind of this helpless, defenseless little boy, the same way his brother was when All For One gave him his quirk so he could be not so defenseless. So I believe there are quite a few, even if the bloodline theory is not correct, the similarities between Tomura and All For One's younger brother are still very strong, and I think that might be the reason as to why All For One could have developed sympathy for Tomura very fast. Now, do I believe that All For One somehow gave his quirk to Tomura? It is possible, but I would really prefer if it was not the case, because I feel like it would downplay the whole situation and ruin it a little bit, in my opinion, because now we have a situation where Tomura did everything himself, but if All For One gets involved, it's kind of becomes more cliche and makes All For One more evil. But it is clear that All For One was at the very least watching Tomura, because, I mean, Tomura kills his own family and then crumbled his own house. The next morning somebody would be calling the police, meaning that All For One had to come and get Tomura almost immediately, otherwise he would not have a chance to yoink him. So what is the other path, you might ask me? Well, the other path is much more simple and much more darker, in my opinion. It's the path where All For One is just an evil fuck who took in Tomura simply to spit on Nana's grave, spit on All Might, and to just do this because it's fun and he's fucked up. Would I want something like this? Not really, because it would make All For One really cliche and simple as a villain, which is not good since Horikoshi really tries to give complexity to his villains. Now, would it be bad entirely? However, while I don't think that it's going to be as good as giving All For One some positive qualities, it would be interesting because it would create an interesting dynamic for Tomura, where if he finds out about that, he will realize that he was betrayed by all the people in his family, in his actual family, and then All For One, and it would be interesting where he could go if he realizes that. But that's already discussion about Tomura and not about All For One. So yeah, I just wanted to make this a quick video talking about All For One and what could be his possible motives. I believe that All For One, the reason why he did what he did was because he saw similarities between Tomura and his younger brother, and he genuinely sympathized with him because of how helpless and defenseless he was, and he genuinely believed in his cause. He genuinely believed that this little kid had the reason to hate and to want to take a revenge on the heroes, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to help him realize this dream, and then in the process I can also make a successor for myself because I am not internal. So, you know, that's there as well. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. Probably was short. Next video actually going to be about Tomura, and I'm going to talk about Tomura's next possible goal, so do be back around for that. I also will say that I do want to make a video about villains as a whole, and then Chisaki. Now, video about villains as a whole in My Hero Academia, I would like to make it probably after the current arc is over, so depending on how much longer it's gonna go, maybe like in 3-4 weeks. And video about Chisaki, that one's probably not gonna be soon because that video I plan to make once season 4 is over, so as many fans as possible would watch My Hero Academia would know who Chisaki is, because in my opinion a lot of people do not understand Chisaki's character, and I would really like to fix that perception. Now, if you would really want me to make Chisaki video right now so I could get my thoughts out right now, I would love to do that. Like, hey, if enough people show interest down in the comments, I would make that video and I would explain why a lot of people, and maybe even you, don't understand Chisaki. But if not, then I would just keep this video until season 4 is over, so I can make it for as many people as possible. With that being said, thank you for watching. Remember, don't die, and I'll see you in the next video.